Hi, Kristen. I'm the unfortunate woman who had her honeymoon ruined by her husband, Oliver. Many people would find this thought almost unimaginable. However, my story will change your mind. My husband and I met when I joined a new job in a big city. I was fresh out of college and was offered a good job at a prestigious company. Oliver was also an employee there. I later learned that he was the son of the owner. His mother, Bonnie, was kind of my boss. However, unlike many mothers-in-law, Bonnie was a very sweet and caring person. It was easy to see where Oliver got his personality from. Oliver and I were in a happy relationship. But there was one problem that just wouldn't go away. The problem in our relationship was his best friend, Betty. This woman also worked in the same office. She was in a separate department, so I never had a professional relationship with her. I got to know about her from Oliver. To be honest, Oliver had all the nice things to say about her. Naturally, I was excited to be friends with her. But when I met her, I was shocked. She was an absolute witch.
Hi, Kristen. I'm with you, bad person. You are Oliver's latest love interest. Look, you are nice and all, but it's important you know your place.
What do you mean, Betty?
All the girls before you have never tolerated me. Me and Oliver have been close since childhood, and our beautiful relationship made everyone jealous.
Of course, he always chose me over them. So I should warn you about offending me. But to Oliver, I will always come first. Once, alarm bells were blasting in my head. However, I chose to ignore them. Oliver did tell me to get along with Betty, but he also said the same thing to her. However, I knew that this woman was bad luck, and I tried to keep my eyes open. And me and Betty never became friends. That was mostly because of her doing. I often invited her to hang out with me, but she never wanted to go out with me. Instead, she preferred crashing my dates with Oliver. She showed up to our dates almost every time we were out. Oliver never sent her away or drew boundaries with her. Look, Oliver, and I had multiple fights about this. I said, Oliver, you need to do something about Betty. I'm tired of her crashing our dates. This is ridiculous. She only likes spending time with you, Oliver. I've asked her to hang out with me, and she has declined every time, but she somehow shows up to our dates. You need to stop telling her about our plans. This is not normal. Since I didn't want to cut Betty off completely, I had to compromise. However, he did promise not to tell her about our plans. Betty's interruptions stopped, but she got sneaky. Every time we were out and Oliver wasn't responding to her texts, she would call him and fake emergencies. Seeing Toniver being the idiot he is, ran to her every time. I can't begin to tell you how many dates she has ruined like this. She even dared to tell me.
Did you see how I managed to ruin your date yesterday? You should be used to it by now. Oliver will always be mine. Beulah always come after me.
You're manipulating him with your emotional blackmail. I know you fake emergencies to destroy our dates. You have no shame, Betty.
I fake emergencies, and still Oliver comes to me. Trust you pray for personal disorder if I work TV drug. That's my words, Kristen. One day I will steal him from you. I know how to keep what is mine.
I was shocked by Betty's audacity. I wanted to tell Oliver, but I had no proof. Betty smartly cornered me in the office so that I didn't have any proof of our conversation. Besides, I knew Oliver would make excuses for her. He always said, she's just lonely, Kristen. Have some empathy for her? You know she had mental health problems and needs me around.
She needs to get her own man, Oliver. You cannot be a proxy for the rest of your life. It is affecting our relationship.
It's not like Oliver didn't put in any effort. He was a great boyfriend to me. He even started to put down boundaries and stop telling Betty about our dates. However, Betty always found a way to manipulate him. Back then, I thought that I had a chance. Oliver did love me a lot, and I loved him just as much. Even Bonnie became close to me and already saw me as a daughter-in-law. She was critical of Betty and didn't like her manipulative ways. Just when Oliver finally proposed to me, I said yes. I did want to have a life with him. He was already trying to distance himself from Betty, so I had hoped. However, Betty wasn't going to let him off that easily. As soon as she heard about our engagement, she ramped up her manipulation. She tried her best to convince him to not get married.
But you can't abandon me like this, Oliver. It's fast and serious, too. I can get married when I am alone. Guess this bizarre. I'm not abandoning you, Betty. You will always be important to me. I love Kristen, so she is important to me as well. But she is taking you away from me. They have already reduced contact with me. I can't believe you are marrying her. You betrayed me. Yes, and I will be a part of that family. I can't believe you would do this to me. I'm already having panic attacks throughout the day. My mental health is in shambles.
The rest of the conversation included Betty playing on her mental health while Oliver tried to comfort her. I could see that Oliver was getting sucked into Betty's bullshit again. However, he always told her that he wanted to marry me and wouldn't budge on it. So again, I held on to the hope of having a good marriage. Bonnie did warn me about Betty. As I have said before, she disliked Betty a lot. I want to know why Bonnie was so against Oliver. Things became clearer when she told me,
You should watch out for Betty, Kristen, or be controlled. Now that you are engaged, she will try everything to destroy your marriage. And she is dead set on having Oliver to herself.
I know, Bonnie. I'm trying my best. It's all on Oliver now. If he can't set boundaries, it will be useless.
It's not like Oliver didn't try, Kristen. This girl is smart, rushing to that promoter. This manipulates him and has destroyed multiple relationships or has stirred her to converse sprees. But she even refuses to date anyone or get help for her obsession. Oliver doesn't feel romantically for Betty, but he refuses to leave her behind.
I took Bonnie's words very seriously. Bonnie confirmed that Betty did destroy his past relationships. However, I was determined not to get swayed so easily. I kept my senses alert and proceeded with the wedding. Oliver did try to include Betty in the wedding preparations. However, I shut that down quickly. After that, he handled Betty on his own. Bonnie also made it clear to him that she wouldn't tolerate him disrespecting me for Betty. With everything set, me and Oliver were ready to get married. Oliver begged me to have Betty as a bridesmaid, but I refused. I was afraid Betty would ruin the wedding. It's not like she didn't try. Just ask and seeds. On our wedding day, Betty showed up in a white cocktail dress. My stupid husband went and complimented her. Everyone stared at her in disgust. My best friend was planning to spill wine on her dress. However, I stopped her because she could do it. I didn't want us to stoop to her level. She was getting uncomfortable watching Oliver get married to me. That was enough consolation for me. After me and Oliver got married, we left for our honeymoon. I thought that we had left Betty's toxic self far behind. We had a great time at the beach city we visited and were genuinely really enjoying ourselves. However, soon my joy would be snuffed out. Just a few days into the honeymoon, Oliver got a call from someone. He went away to a secluded area to talk. When he came back to me, he looked upset. He then said, "I can't believe Betty called me and threatened to harm herself if I didn't leave you and come back to her. I don't know what to do." But when he came back to me, he looked upset. He then said, "Kristen, I need to go home immediately. There's been an emergency. You need to leave now." "What's wrong, Oliver?" "It's a work emergency. Kristen, they need me back at the company immediately. I just got a call from the company." "But you are on leave." "They know that." "Why are they calling you when there are so many people around?" "Because I am more experienced, Kristen. They don't want anyone else. Look, let me go back now. The hotel is still booked for 3 more days. You can just stay and enjoy yourself. That way we won't be losing any money. But I want to go back with you. Do you want to leave me behind?" "Don't be ridiculous, Kristen. What will you do at home when I will be at work?" "We will lose a lot of money if you leave now. You stay here and enjoy the honeymoon." Yes, my husband wanted me to have a honeymoon by myself. The work emergency couldn't be avoided, and he had to leave the next morning. I begged and pleaded with him to take me with him. The next morning, I begged and pleaded with him to take me with him, but he never agreed. That's when I knew something was seriously wrong. I'd been with him for years and easily. So I made a decision. I was going to get an annulment. But I also decided not to make a scene about it. I quickly took some screenshots and sent them to myself. Then I deleted any signs that I had sent myself the evidence. I knew I needed the evidence to get revenge. Also, I didn't want to leave Oliver any chance to twist the real story. I knew I needed the evidence to get revenge. Also, I didn't want to leave Oliver any chance to twist the real story. I prepared everything and went to sleep. The next day, Oliver flew back home as promised. I intentionally stayed behind. Since I was already ready to get an annulment, I didn't bother begging to go back with him. Instead, I called my best friend and told her to come and spend the rest of the vacation with me. She immediately agreed, and I booked her flight the same day. What Oliver didn't stop to think about was the fact that his mother noticed everything. She casually called me at night and said, "Kristen, why is Oliver back in the city? I saw him at the house when I was driving by. What is going on?" Did you guys return early? No, Bonnie. It is just Oliver who went back. I'm still on our honeymoon. I will be coming back, Bonnie. I'll go straight to my mom's house when my vacation is up.
Fine, why, sorry? This is very confusing. Or is it sure confusing? What happened, Kristen? Now tell it everything. Why did Oliver leave you there and come back before your honeymoon ended?
He told me he had a work emergency. When I asked Oliver to take me home, he refused and said that I should enjoy myself. That is utter nonsense. There was no emergency at the company. I would have known if there were any. Even then, no one would have called him back. Hell, he hasn't even been in the office today.
That's because he lied to me, Bonnie. He went back for Betty. She begged him to come back and emotionally blackmailed him. And I am your wife, Oliver? Or I was your wife. I should have come first. It wasn't even an emergency with her.
You broke my boundaries within a week of getting married. I have no hopes for you anymore. I will be leaving. There's nothing inappropriate between us. Please don't leave me. I don't want to use you. Please, Kristen.
You can try and tell that to other people, Oliver. Ask around and see who agrees with you. You know how inappropriate you have been.
It's just that you want the best of both worlds. That won't happen anymore. I'll send the papers for the annulment. We are done. I hung up on him while he tried to beg to come back. No amount of pleading or begging would keep me with him. It's time he realizes how much he messed up. And I knew he would be paying for his foolish deeds, and so will Betty. I had already sent the screenshots to Bonnie. She told me that she had plans of her own. So she called me and said that she is planning to fire both Oliver and Betty from the job. She didn't want the two to work in her company or profit from her in any way. Oliver did call me a couple of times. He also texted me saying that his mother had fired him and won't speak to him anymore. Now, he is the one who is all alone. Betty also sent me a few texts to call me names. She told me that Oliver had cut contact with her and Bonnie fired her from her job. She berated me for ruining her life and taking away the love of her life. I simply replied that she deserved what she got. I was firm in my decision to leave Oliver. I prepared all the papers with my lawyers for the annulment. When I and Oliver met with our lawyers, he tried to beg me to stay again. He said that he had cut off Betty and understood how inappropriate he was being to me. I told him that it was too late. I signed the papers in front of him, and he did the same. He signed only because his lawyers said I would go to court if he doesn't agree to an annulment. I guess he no longer had the money for a court battle. Since everything happened, I have managed to move on. It's been 8 months since the annulment happened. Bonnie and I are still very close. We even hang out together from time to time. She told me that Oliver was still very heartbroken and refused to talk to Betty. Bonnie also said that she never gave him the job back, and he was forced to join another company. Now he lived alone and lamented losing everyone around him. Oliver still calls me and texts me every day. However, I have never replied. As far as I'm concerned, our life together is over. I've managed to move on. Well, he is all set to be sad and completely alone. I've managed to move on while he's all set to be sad and completely alone for the rest of his life.